Hello everybody. I wanted to make this video before I went to bed. It's nighttime here, so you all will have this in the daytime. I just wanted to pass a little knowledge for some of you who don't know or didn't know this. This is basically in response to the outrage there is going around because there is no Benghazi type response after the ambush in Niger. And for those of you who are comparing Benghazi to Niger, I'm here to explain the difference the way I see it. I can speak on both incidents because I was an active duty Green Beret and I was also a contractor performing the same job as the men in Benghazi. A lot of you may know that I worked with Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, who was killed in Benghazi. In case you didn't know, the United States military is participating in the global war on terror. The United States Army Special Forces, or the Green Berets, and some other units are operating all over the world in any given time in support of the global war on terror. Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria is just the ones that you hear about. Most of the teams are conducting what's called foreign internal defense, or what we call FID missions. Basically, it's helping the host nations to deal with insurgencies, which include ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, and many of the other offshoots that support their causes. This is not new. Green Berets have been doing this since the Vietnam War. Now, I don't know all the particulars about exactly what went down in Niger, but I do know how it can happen. When the teams and support personnel are in remote or hostile locations, there's not much in the way of support. The teams rely heavily on the host nations for many things, which include security. The teams make contingency plans for things that can happen, to include what to do if they're attacked. Now, what I can gather was the team got ambushed on a movement going from point A to point B. Ambushes usually don't end up well for those on the receiving end. And I'm sure the team did everything they could to mitigate the risk of them being ambushed in the first place. But things happen. Ambushes happen fast, and it does not last long. The enemy hits you and runs before any help can come. It's in all the manuals. Every Green Beret knows exactly what can happen in his line of work, and they make peace with it. I know for a fact if the team was in a drawn-out firefight, there would be help on the way, and it will be there in a sense of urgency. Now, Benghazi. Benghazi was not an ambush. It was a raid. It was an attack. It was a prolonged attack on two facilities that lasted hours. An attack that was monitored all the way back to the United States. Monitored in real time, like watching a live football game. In this case, the call for help did come. Like the Green Berets in Niger, the team in Benghazi also planned for something like this to happen. I know that for a fact those guys knew what they were doing. I know because I knew them both very well. It's in the SOPs. The difference is quite simple, and it's hard for me to understand how some people can compare the two. Special Forces operators were doing what they were trained to do, and doing it in a hostile environment, just like Afghanistan, just like Syria, just like Iraq, just like the Philippines, just like any other sub-Saharan African country, just like Colombia, and many other places the news don't talk about. It's just like you going to work and somebody decides they want to kill you while you're driving your car. You do what you can to get out the situation. Benghazi, well, that's you sitting at home in a bad neighborhood, and a bunch of gangbangers decide they want to break into your home and kill you. But they can't get in because you have steel bars. You have some guns to keep them at bay, but you can't do it for very long. You can't hold them off forever. You were smart and you installed an alarm system to notify the police, so you set that off. You know they hear your calls for help, but they do nothing. They do nothing for 13 hours. That's the difference.